Jordan, hey, congratulations for Punch.
Hello. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a fascinating drama and so on. So tell us what initially drew you to this film.
I mean, in New Zealand, when you audition, because I'm from New Zealand, obviously, when you audition for stuff, you kind of don't really get many options. Often you'll read the script and you'll just be like, this isn't fleshed out, or there's nothing that I feel like no connectedness to it. But when I read Punch, which would have been like almost 6 years ago now, there was just something about it instantly that I sort of connected with, and I felt like this was someone's heart and soul, like their story on paper, and it sort of came across. It really came through. So from that moment, I was like, I want to get this. I want to do at my utmost to try and sort of book this job, and it worked out. So
No, it did. It did. I mean, I finally got to watch it. A lot of people are going to watch it. So it's a certainly a fascinating story. And it's funny, like every time I think of New Zealand, I was like, what are you talking about, Jordan? There's plenty of jobs. There's all this Lord of the Rings stuff there.
yeah, yeah. I mean, for a bit there was, but then they left, and so now there's not much again. But it's definitely picked up since the pandemic, so that's positive, I guess.
Most excellent. So how did you get into the headspace of your character for a film like this? Because it seems like he's torn in so many different directions.
Yeah, I think at the age that I was when we started filming, which was 24, I think I was far enough removed from the age of 17 that you start to understand and can like sort of go back and see those points in your life and that journey of a boy to a man, that quintessential time where it's coming of age and you're making all these decisions to try and find out like who you really are, and trying to work out who you'll become. And sort of, I read I read the script and I saw the parts, especially that connected with me, were the parts where Jim would leave the small town and run off and be by the ocean and the waves and nature. And that was where he like felt this sense of freedom, like he wasn't trapped, like Jim says in the movie, I used to come out here and try to fly, it was the place at which he could be free and be himself and feel like he was weightless, you know? And so I have a connection with that. I've sort of been the same ever since I was young. The feeling of being amongst nature is a sense of freedom like no other. So that was really where it sort of initially started. And then I sort of built upon it through emotional work from there.
So which theme of this film resonated you the most? Was it the sort of the LGBTQ romance? Was it the father-son relationship, boxing, the escapism? What was it?
Probably initially the escapism and the father-son relationship. I mean, I have quite a good relationship with my father, but it felt so strong, even in the script, that immediately I just, like, there were certain scenes, even the ones of the connection, the LGBT connection with Conan, who plays Fetu. There were just the scenes in there that made me connect, and I would just read the script and just weep just from reading those, let alone seeing it, on a screen. So yeah, initially it was the escapism and the father-son relationship. But again, as I sort of delved further and further into it, it really became sort of all of the other themes sort of came in as well.
So tell us about the development of the chemistry with Connor.
Conan, Conan, Conan.
Oh, Conan,
Yeah.
yeah. Go for it.
Well, see, the interesting thing is I did the callbacks. I was there for the callbacks for him. So he came in and the scene was my character is impressed with his singing. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll listen to him sing. And so he started singing, and it was the most beautiful voice I'd ever heard. Like there was no acting involved. I was immediately like just dumbstruck. I was like, wow, this guy truly has one of the most amazing voices. And then getting to talk with him and getting to share such emotional moments with him was lovely. Like he's a really beautiful, open person and so strong. I think there's no one that could have played the character of Fetu with quite the same heart and soul and mana as Conan. So I really am thankful to have worked with them.
I know, and I spoke to you the director Welby earlier today. This is such a personal story to
right?
him. Did you realize that? Did he tell you how personal all of this was? Because he was fairly emotional about all of this.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, from initially even reading it, I felt the personal connection of his. I felt that wasn't just a story that you could sort of conjure up. And then through the audition process, we sort of discussed a bit more about it. And then as sort of time went on and we just kept discussing and sort of delving further into it, and sort of, yeah, I really sort of came to learn a lot about Welby's relationship and his partners and who they were and how they were together. And so it was, yeah, what kind of honor is that? You know, like it's such a beautiful thing for people to trust you with portraying a part of their partner's lives like that. You know, like I don't take that for granted. So yeah, it's something I really took very seriously and appreciate Welby for letting me have a part of.
Mm-hmm. I know, and the subject of homophobia, you know, because we live in times like we think things have improved, but I guess homophobia still exists, whether in the past or today. It's still
Yeah, especially the further you get from, you know, metropolitan cities, and the more isolated you get in terms of rural towns and stuff. Yeah, it's tough, man. Like my character says in the film, there's like a veneer of like companies and stuff being like, yeah, we support and, you know, pride and everything. And then when it comes down to it, there's still a lot of people who have an issue with it, which I don't understand. But yeah,
yeah,
sad.
we will never understand that.
Mm.
You shared screen time with Tim Roth, very respectable actor, very veteran actor. What was it like working with him as he plays your father on screen?
It was a joy, man. It was really a joy. I didn't take a second of it for granted. Like even like let alone working with him and seeing how he approached scenes, how he would come in and talk to Welby about what was written and how they would go about it, and how each different take he did. Apart from that, just getting to spend time with him and connect with him on like a personal level and go for walks. There's a beautiful mountain near where I stay in Auckland, and we walked up that together. Like, yeah, it was just something to remember, man. Like something to really learn from and appreciate. It was nice.
Now, boxing is just a background story here in its own way for Punch, even though the title is called Punch.
Yeah.
Tell us about the, you know, the physical training and preparation for yourself. I mean, I feel like you kind of went through the same process like the cast of Creed 3 that just
yeah, we'll say that. We'll say that. No, I mean, I've already, like, growing up, I've played soccer my whole life at a fairly high level. So I was already pretty fit, you could say, but I had never done anything solo, sort of like a solo sport like boxing. And so I got to work with Cam Todd, who was my boxing coach, wonderful guy, and was, you know, part of the history of Welby's story. And so I got to learn boxing 5 days a week for 3 months before the movie started. And Cam coaches Commonwealth Games level boxers, right? So there's me in the gym the first month with people who are Commonwealth Games boxers, and I'm just like, like I just couldn't do it, man. Like it was so embarrassing. But yeah, just had to learn, had to go through the trials and the sweat and the pain and the getting punched in the face all the time. And it was fucking awesome. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It's such a wonderful sport, and it has similarities to acting in a lot of ways. You know, everything I find in life comes down to that sort of moment to moment focus on the other person, you know?
Most excellent. Well, that is wonderful, and you've done a wonderful job in Punch. And we'll just go ahead and assume after 6 years you kept up with all of that.
Yeah. Yep, I did.
That's wonderful. Well, Jordan, thank you very much for carrying this conversation. Everyone should definitely check out Punch, and especially you, Jordan. Terrific.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks, Gig, man. I appreciate that.
Hey, thank you. Bye now.
See ya.